So welcome back to this series on resilience, and this is part 2 of stress hardiness. And in this section, we're going to talk about EQ, or emotional intelligence. We get a lot of focus on IQ, how mentally, intellectually intelligent we are, and very little training, at least in schools, on what EQ is. So how emotionally intelligent are you? And we say that the more fully emotionally intelligent you are, the better you are at meeting the stressors around and building your resilience. And so there are 4 factors to emotional intelligence. The first is self-awareness. The second is self-management. The third is social awareness. And the fourth is managing relationships. And we'll go through each of these with a bit of detail and give you ideas on what you can do around these 4 areas of EQ. So the first, self-awareness. We start with thoughts. There's this phrase that I offer you and it says, I have thoughts, but I am not my thoughts. We get confused. We think our thoughts are us. We have 60 to 70,000 thoughts every day. And the strange thing is that research says most of those thoughts are the same day after day. And so there's that gerbil wheel again. If we continue to have the same thoughts, we can't think outside the box. And we can't think in terms of growing our resilience for the precious we have. The second aspect is our feelings. And they are messengers. If you listen to your feelings, they'll tell you whether you're on course or off course, having a good time in life or being under stress and pressured. They're messengers. The third aspect, body sensations. We talked about this, but you can't read your body enough. It's always giving us messengers. Listen to it, have it as feedback, and determine where you're going to go to change the body's messages to feeling better than when we don't feel so well. So there's an idea called identification. What we tend to do is we identify ourselves with our thoughts, our feelings, even our body sensations. We tell a story about that and then we believe it. Well, the idea here is to disidentify. And there's a part of us that can notice or witness our thoughts, not be them, our feelings, our body sensations, from a more objective place. And when we can do that, we have choice to be and act differently. And so that is the keys to self-awareness. Now, number 2, now that we know self-awareness, is self-management. Have you ever been around somebody who just acts out impulsively and does all sorts of things, oftentimes not for the benefit of you or the people around you? Well, they don't know how to self-manage, and we encourage you to get ever better at that. So one of the 6 psychological functions is impulse. And impulse gets us into a lot of trouble. We react, knee-jerk react to things, and it doesn't give us a chance to come back, look at what's the situation, how do I be thoughtful, maybe heartful about it. We go with the impulse, and so it's getting better at noticing that you have an impulse to do something, say something. And don't. There's an acronym I like. It's called WAIT, W-A-I-T. Why am I talking? And that's a reminder to muse, to take a few breaths, to understand the situation a little bit better before reacting to it. So there's reacting and responding is more thoughtful. We suggest you respond more than react. You've got the self-awareness and the self-management going, and now you have to bring it out to the world, and we call that social awareness. Who are you interacting with? One of the greatest tools I can give you is a thing called curiosity. Now, you've heard the word, maybe you've thought you're curious, but it is a state. We call it a state of being curious. When you are curious, you're in a place that leaves the ego and its judgment behind, and you're all about what's going on for the people around you. Why are you being asked to do 15% more sales? Why are you being asked to take on more with less? If you get curious about it, you'll find more results. You don't stop the information and get all defending and blaming, but rather you're more open to the circumstances. And from that place, you can more intelligently respond, which increases your resilience. The other piece about social awareness is, what's your impact on others? If you look in your life, as a coach I would say, 5 times a day, notice your impact on the people around you. Get really good with your radar up. Are you being a positive influence? Well, notice that on people. Are you being a negative influence? Notice that. You wake up on the wrong side of the bed and everybody else seems to be having a bad day. Well, that's your impact on others, and we do have choice, even though sometimes it's hard to recognize or shift to something that's going to serve better. The fourth piece of emotional intelligence is managing those relationships. And flexibility is a key. Being flexible with other people's styles, preferences, the information coming in. It lends a degree of latitude that you can have choices, and they can have choices when we're more flexible. And the last tool in this of managing relationships is a really simple model of X, Y, and Z. X is when something's going on that we have no control about. You can't do anything about it. I always think of taxes, but there are many things. If a decision comes down from on high, do you accept it or do you resist it? And the more we resist it, the lower our resilience. So it's a practice. It doesn't always come naturally, but accepting the facts, and then what can we do about it? Maybe nothing, and that's called letting go. So that's X. The Y is we can do something about it, but it's going to take some time. And so then you have a choice. Do I commit to this? Or do I say, no, I'm not going to prioritize it? And then the easiest one is Z. You can do something about it right now. But the biggest one that gets in the way is the X, because we tend to fight it instead of accepting it. And that's the place we encourage you to take a look, because that lowers your resilience. So you may not master them all, but do take on the self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and managing relationships, perhaps one at a time. Work on them incrementally and build them through life to get stronger and stronger in all of your realms.